Greetings! Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I start all my videos out that way. You'll get used to it. Once again, greetings and welcome to Smartwatch Tics, where you are about to learn how to set up an Android smartwatch for use for the Christmas present, either before you give it or after you got it. Doesn't matter, you got to do the same thing. We're looking at a model called an LEM5 Pro, but what you're about to see will apply basically to any Android watch. We're going to break it down in some levels. First ones are going to be easy. There are going to be a couple of things you can do to make things faster, but they're a little more complex. And then they're going to get harder and harder as we go along. Take what you want, leave the rest. But remember, it's here. You can always come back to go further in your learning. All right, you got yourself a brand new smartwatch. The very first thing you want to do is unpack it, plug it into the charger. This one happens to use a dock that goes on the back, and it plugs into the wire that goes into the USB port. Some of them have a little hole in the side you can plug into. A lot of them have a row of pins with a little connector that you hook up and you plug it into the USB. Whatever way yours is, you want to put it on the charger and charge it before you turn it on. That's kind of important if you want to get long life out of your watch. Make sure that it's fully charged at least 2 hours. Better if you can do it overnight. If you're going to give it as a Christmas present and it's 2 months before Christmas, you may want to charge it up and do the things we're going to show you and then kind of put it away. But on Christmas morning, if you guys can, make sure you charge it back to full. You're going to want to cycle it too. As you use the watch, you're going to want to drain it all the way down, not to 0, but down to like when it tells you that you need to go into the power saving level, usually about 15%. And then plug it back in and charge it all the way to 100% and let it drain out again the next time you use it. Don't charge it intermittently, use it for a little while and then plug it back in when it's only at 80%. Not at first. Let it drain all the way out and come back. The reason for that is that percentage that you see, like here, is calculated based on your specific battery, and it takes some time to get to know it. They got to learn about each other. And you get a more accurate battery level if you cycle it a little bit. Think of it as a gas gauge, and if it got down to a half and you ran out of gas, you'd be kind of upset. That sometimes happens if you don't season your battery, don't get it cycled 3 or 4 times to get it set. That's kind of the basic. That's your level 1. Plug it in, charge it up before you turn it on. Now let's say you've accomplished that step. You're ready to go. Usually you press and hold a side button, hold it for a little while, not quickly, and give it a moment for it'll probably make a little zzz, little vibration, and then it'll start. I know this is basic, guys, but some folks have never touched a smartwatch before. Hang in there. It's going to get going. Press and hold, let it beep, vibrate. It won't make a sound probably, and you'll see some things going on the screen as it starts to boot up, just like your phone boots up. Let it go all the way. It'll settle in on a watch face. This is a watch face. There's lots of them, by the way, that you can put in as custom watch faces or what they're called stock watch faces. That's what your watch will have to begin with, are the stock watch faces. I know I showed you something a little more advanced. We'll get to that. But let it just be. Let it come up. And once it's booted up all the way, then you're ready to begin. Now, an important step, it's going to get a little more technical. If you're going to need to know this with your Android watch, an important step is to get it connected to the internet. We want you to do this in your Wi-Fi zone, either at home or at work, where you're in a trusted place and you know the password to get into your router because you're going to need to put it into the watch. Now, they all work different from this point. I'm going to show you on this specific model that to get to the settings, which is where you want to go, we're going to scroll all the way to the right and look for something that says settings. Now, some of them, you'll actually go into something that says apps, and you'll scroll down and you'll find settings. Either way, you're looking for settings. You go into settings. Here it gets a little different on different watches too. Right on this one, it's right up front. It says Wi-Fi. Some of them will say connectivity, different things, but you're hunting down where you find Wi-Fi. You're going to click on it, and you're going to see that it's probably off. The first thing you want to do is turn it on. Now that's going to activate Wi-Fi, and it's going to start looking around your neighborhood for your devices, just like you'd see on your phone. And of course, I've already set this one up with this one here, and you see it's got good signal and it's connected. But if you don't have it connected yet, which I'm presuming, you're going to want to do that. Now, just to show you something, because I want to bring up the keyboard, I'm just going to say add another network, and I'm going to tap in here. Mainly I just did that so you can bring up the keyboard. On yours, you would see your router name. You click on the router name, and then you'll see password, and you're going to click on the password, and that will bring up the keyboard. Now the keyboards are a bit different. This is a particular type that has a microphone in it for voice entry. That's both good and bad. It's way over here on the left near the letters A, S, and Z. And your finger's kind of big, and sometimes you miss these things. And if you accidentally slide over there, that's going to, delay you. Also down here, you don't have the standard like period and comma and stuff. They're kind of buried. And that's your shift key down there, which is like really hard to get to. All I'm doing here is pointing out that if you want to be wise about things and make sure that on these smartwatches, which have these small keyboards, that you can put your password in easily, this might be a time to revisit what password you're using on your router. If you've got a big complex one that has lots of capital letters and syntax and symbols and things in it, just remember, the more complex it is, the harder it's going to be for you to do it from a keyboard on your phone. On your watch. It's good on your phone usually, but on your watch it's hard. So think about setting up a password that is easy for you to remember, of course, or use, and consists of letters that are easy to hit here on the keyboard, which means gravitate towards the ones toward the middle. The edge ones and the ones over here near the special symbols, like the backspace key, like an M would be hard. Anything near that microphone, stick to the middle ones, and you'll see as you put them in that you can hit them pretty good. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but when I'm hitting a letter, it's kind of highlighting there, so you get a quick flash at what it is, because usually in the password field, you might see it quickly and then it disappears to a dot, right? So do it in a way that you can make sure you're seeing your letters, and you'll be okay. So that's kind of your level 2, is getting yourself on the internet. And just pointing this out because a lot of people get frustrated at this step of trying to connect with their password. If you've got an easy to work with password, it'll make life easier for you in the long run. All right, let's move on. You can leave the settings now, come back over to your main opening, which you can do, you saw, by sliding to the right, or usually you can hit it's different on every watch. Some have 3 buttons, some have 1. You can hit a back button, or you can hit the home button. Whatever you do, you want to get back to that home position where you see your watch face. I'm just going to keep showing you different watch faces so you get an idea of all the things you can do with an Android watch. Once you're here, you want to get back into your apps again now. And you want to ignore everything that I've got in here for now and go to this one, the Google Play Store. You're going to want to open the Google Play Store. Now, the first time you open it, it won't look like this because I'm already logged in. But you want to use the Google Play Store app to be able to put in your email that's associated with your Google account that ends in an @google.com, okay? And you only need to, when you're logging in, just put in the first part. You don't need to add the @google.com from that tiny keyboard. It should recognize just from the name of your email account itself. And then you're going to enter the password to gain access to the Google account that you're going to be using for this particular watch, which is probably the same one you're using for your phone, because you have to have the same account to be able to download apps that you've paid for. I mean, you can set up a completely different one if you want to and download apps separately, but I find it so much easier if you use the same account that you use on your phone. So set up your Google account, follow the prompts across the screen. Oh, you're running into problems. Yours doesn't look like this. It's not a square. It's all filling in a circle. You don't see these corner things, right? In fact, I bet yours looks more like this. Now, watch what I'm doing. I'm going to a special page where there's icons of watches. Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's two. I'm going to normal display as opposed to zoom display. Your watch starts out in normal display. Now, I'm going to come back over here to that Google Play Store apps. Yours looks like this, right? Uh-huh. Well, I mean, once you get logged in, but you can't get logged in until it's getting confusing now. All right, let's cut through this. You're going to want to make sure that when you see your apps that have the things in the corners, that the app is showing in a square inside the circle as opposed to being full, which is like a circle picture of the app in a big square, where we can't get to the menu items. So there's different ways it's handled on different Android watches, but you're going to want to find this. I'm going to go back to the beginning. On this one, I slide up, and I go over, and I come up to this page. Okay? Zoom display. I'm going to leave it like that. On some other watches, most other watches, you press and hold, and this display looks like the one I just showed you, and has one icon at the top that you touch over and over, and it switches between the two. That's a nice implementation because you can change on the fly. But they're different. Everyone's different, but you need to find how to do this and do this so that you make sure that it's going to be in a square. So now we go back over here to apps and our Play Store, and there you go. It's back into a square. Really important, because if you touch the menu, it'll bring up all the stuff on the side that you can get to. If you touch the microphone, you can speak what you'd like to Google Play to search. And from here on, this is one of two ways that you can go about installing Android applications onto your watch. And that finishes kind of level 2. We've gotten you charged up, we've gotten you on the internet with the Wi-Fi, and we have you logged into your Google account, which is accessing the internet because you're on Wi-Fi. You're doing good. Now, just to show you what this looks like on a different Android watch, this is an iQOO i4 Air, and like I said, if I push and hold the side button, which there's a camera here, so on this one it's the upper one-button watch, totally different than the other one, press and hold, I get this display. See the toggle up there? If I touch it, you can barely see, but it changes from full screen to a square within a screen. That's how you get to that feature on the iQOO Air. Also, if I slide over to the right, I get into my app drawer. There's other things if I keep scrolling, but I don't see something that says apps to go into. They're just there. And there's settings. And it's in settings that I go into. Now, inside of settings, you see I don't have Wi-Fi. I have to go down here to where it says Connect. And inside Connect, that's where I find Wi-Fi. And the little toggle is up at the top. So a little bit different layout in everything I just talked about, but that gives you a quick picture of how you would gain access to the things you need to do in the first 2 steps. Let's move on to step 3. This is a little bit of basic housekeeping. I'm coming back here. Oh, notice that when I twisted it, it lit up. There's a setting for that you can make sure that it will do that. And if I touch the screen before it goes out, it locks it in for the duration of the time that I've set for it to stay alive. I know, technical. Just remember you heard that. This is some housekeeping stuff. There's a couple of things we want to do now that you're on the internet and logged into Google. And that is, first, go back over to settings. Remember, it's different on the other watch. Go all the way down. In this case, it says more settings. When I go into more settings, I go all the way down again. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to go there. All the way down, and it says About Equipment. Now, on the other watch, I guess we should just show you on both of them. On this one, I go into Settings, and I go all the way to the bottom, and it says About Watch right there. Either way, I'm going to go into here, About Equipment, About Watch, and you're going to get into something where it's going to say Wireless Update at the very top. This one also says System Update, which is a first. We don't really work with that, but you could do that on this one. What we're trying to do is check to see if there are any pending updates waiting for the watch. So you're going to do that. This one's automatically checking right off the bat, and it says your device software is currently up to date. This one I have to press and let this thing whirl around a bit, and it'll go out to check the server. Sometimes it connects and sometimes it doesn't. So you have to kind of keep trying it until it tells you that it's got the latest software running. Now what's really going on is it's looking for a firmware update from the company. The company manages firmware, which is kind of the look and feel of the watch that lays on top of the operating system, in which case it's Android level 5.1 on both of these watches. So that's kind of hung up. It's not going to go any further. When you do this action that we're doing right now of trying to update the watch firmware, it's called OTA. That means over the air. It's attempting to push an update to you from the server to make sure that the software is the latest version. Just like what happens on your phone when you're told that you're being updated with a security patch or something. There it's automatic. Here you usually have to initiate it on your own. So that's the first thing we're doing in this level 3, was checking for an update to the software. Second thing we're going to do is back where we were before. And I'm asking you to do them in this order because it's good to update the firmware first, because it could affect your software and your apps. And when you have the firmware to the latest version, then you're going to go back into apps, go back into your Google Play Store, hit that upper left button, which I'm not going to do because it's got my login account information on there. But you do this on your phone. You've seen it before, and it's going to tell you if you have any updates waiting to be updated. I guarantee you, you will probably have some updates to Google and maybe a couple of other things that should be addressed. So make sure you click, you're in the square, taught you how to do that. You click that little thing and it brings over the side panel. Okay, I've scrolled my information off the screen, and this is what you'll basically see. Now, let me show you what I do. This is personal preference, but I'll give you a good reason behind it. You may want to do it too. I'm going to scroll down here all the way to Settings. And in Settings, the very first one has to do with notifications. I know, you can't read it, neither can I. It's like white writing against a gray background, but I've studied it enough to know that you're going to find that little thin line and go to the second thing that says Auto Update. When you click on that now, you get to a page where you can select Do Not Auto Update or Auto Update Anytime with data charges or on Wi-Fi only. It's probably set for Wi-Fi only. I highly recommend you click on Do Not Auto Update Apps. All right? The reason for that, and it's a good one, is Google's going to be constantly polling to find out if there's any updates for your watch. Or it's going to be pushing new updates to your watch and automatically updating them in the background. That's battery intensive and it's data intensive. Much better on your watch if you take control of that and do this manually from time to time when you're fully charged. It's not a time you're going to need to go out with your watch, and you can connect into the Wi-Fi network to do it. Okay, so if you've set that up, that it's going to be updated only when you select it, then you can move on to the next step. Scroll back up from the bottom to where it says My Apps and Games, just below your information. Go into here, and here you go. It's going to say, it's going to prompt you to try to keep your apps updated by turning on automatic update. I would ignore that. Then it's going to go into updates, and it's going to tell you what apps you have installed that are ready to update. Now, I have a whole bunch of apps in here that I've put in through a thing called side loading, which we're going to get to. Those apps are ready for update, but I choose not to update them. I'm leaving them at the level that they're at right now because I know they work on a watch. Sometimes I update and they don't. However, if you are just starting, which you are, you won't see all of these, but you may see things like Google or Google Play Services or a couple of the others that are pre-installed or part of the operating system. So what I'm going to suggest to you, after you've turned off auto updates and you've come back here, is to hit update all and make sure each and every one of those apps gets updated on your watch before you move forward to start installing any other third-party apps. All right, that's level 3. It's housekeeping. First of all, you're going through and checking for an update to the watch for the firmware. And secondly, you're going to go into your Google Play Store and update any apps that are waiting, and consider strongly turning off auto update on your watch. All right, that's enough. You could wrap the thing up and give it for Christmas, and it'll be, you've saved an hour maybe of somebody's time that wants to have fun with the watch. But if you want to take it further and actually install some cool apps, or if it's your watch and you're ready to do that, then get yourself a glass of water and let's keep going. Okay, I'm serious about getting a glass of water, folks. There's going to be something about taking a moment and drinking some water after we digest the topic that will help anchor it in your brain. This is not like your typical YouTube channel. I'm not cramming this whole thing into 5 minutes. I got a reputation, good or bad. Some people hate it, but I draw things out. And it makes sense if you take time to drink a glass of water. That's not what you think it is. It's water. It really is. I just needed a tiny glass I can show on the video. Drink your water. Let's begin. We're going to skip the watch for a moment and bring over the phone. We're going to first cover how you put apps on your watch through the best way, and that's called side loading. And we do that from your phone. So I'm in the Google Play Store and I've typed in App Backup and Restore. You're going to want to search for that, and you're going to get a few different things. There's a couple of main ones. One looks like this and one looks like that. I've used both of them. In this particular case, on this phone, I'm using this one. So when I bring it up here, oh, it looks like it's ready for an update. I'm going to skip that. I just wanted to show it to you right now. App Backup and Restore is an app that you're going to want to install on your phone. Have a little sip. On your phone. You got your phone. You're going to put it on your phone. Now, when you have it on your phone, you're going to be able to basically back up all of the apps that you've installed on your phone. Now, here's why that's critical to do it this way. You see, once you have your apps on your phone and you back them up, it creates the app, actually, this app, the Backup and Restore app, creates a file of each of the installed apps that you have. Now, technically, inside your phone, the apps are installed in a way that they can run, right? When you execute them by touching on them, they just load up into memory and they go. But that's not in a usable fashion that you can do anything with. They need to be extracted into a package. And it's an Android package, and hence it's called the .apk. So what the App Backup and Restore process does is it looks through all of the apps that you have, and it creates a package for you and saves it on your internal memory or your SD card, depending on how you set it up. And you end up getting a whole great big listing of all of your apps. Looks like this. Okay? These are all different apps, and I have a check mark up here that I can go. And any new ones that haven't been archived yet, haven't been backed up, will have a check mark next to them. So it's a thing you can do periodically that will make sure that the latest versions that have been updated are saved to your backup file. Okay, go through and you just hit backup and it'll back them all up. That's the art of getting ready. What you're going to do is make sure that the apps that you are going to be interested in installing on your watch live first on your phone. And you can put them on your phone by going to the Google Play Store, where it's easy to type the information into the search bar and easy to download them. You don't need to run them on your phone if you don't want to. You just need to install them so that you can use App Backup and Restore to pull the APK file out into a grouping that in a minute will be transferring over to your watch. And from your watch, we'll actually be installing those apps by touching on the APK file in File Manager, which is another application on your watch, and answering some questions that will let it install the app onto your watch in the same exact way as if you had gone into the Google Play Store on your watch, typed in on that tiny keyboard the app name, and installed it one by one by one that way. You get the feel for it? All right. So that's the beginning part of preparing to do this. You use your phone, you install the apps that you want on your watch on your phone, you run it through App Backup and Restore, and you prepare a folder that's got all of your backed up apps to be able to transfer to your watch. I know, I repeat a lot because it's complex and you got to hear it 5 times for you to remember it. And don't forget, you got to take a sip in between. All right, water break. Okay, I'm going to warn you. This is that point in a YouTube video, you know, you've been following it along so far. You're going, I think I understand. I can do this. It's not that hard. It's broken down bit by bit. And then the guy says, okay, now raise your car up on the rack so you can get underneath. And I go, are you S-ing me? Rack? What rack? I don't have a rack. And even if I did, I don't know how to raise a car on it. I can't change my own oil after all. Ugh. And then I bail out. Well, welcome to the moment of frustration. I'm going to get you from here to there by offering you do it your own way. Ooh! What I mean by that is you've got all these backed up files in here, and I'm going to show you File Manager, all right? This is your typical File Manager on the phone, and if you've done it right, you go into all your files, and I think I got this on the SD card, and there it is. It's called App Backup and Restore, and I go into the Archived Apps. That's a folder. There's a folder with all of the backed up stuff, all the apps backed up that are on my phone, and every edition beforehand, because I have it set up that anytime Google updates it in automatic update on the phone, it backs it up version by version in case I got to go back to an earlier version. I mean, you should be doing this anyway on your phone, so at least you got that much out of the video. However, what I'm saying is, this archived folder inside of the App Backup and Restore folder on the phone needs to get moved, not the whole thing, but some of the apps that you want over to the watch. The question is exactly how do you do that? Well, there's a few different approaches. I'll give you some ideas, and I'm going to invite viewers who know how to do this to give us your way in the show notes down below this video to help those who are trying to figure out how to do it, okay? First of all, if it's on the SD card, one thing you can do is open up the phone, take out, turn it off, take out your SD card, and hook it into your computer, and transfer that App Backup and Restore archived folder, whole thing, over to your computer. On your computer, you could set up another folder and move the apps that you want to put onto your watch into that folder. I usually call them Apps Core, as the core apps that I want to put on the watch. Okay, once you have them in that folder, then you can connect your watch to that same computer through the USB and get the data connection through it. And then you just simply drag that apps core folder over to the watch, and it'll copy from the computer to the watch. That way you've moved them from the phone to the computer to the watch. That's one approach. Another approach is using some transfer apps. There's one called Share It. Hello. Share It is an app that you can install on your phone and on your watch. And you get them both in sync. One of them is set up, the watch as a receiver, the phone as a sender, and you can send them one by one from the phone, because you can go through looking for all of the files in the different folders. And you don't even need to make a secondary folder I was talking about. You can just go through your main backup and restore folder, pick which version of which app that you want to move over, and move it over. And that moves it. You can move it into, say, the downloads folder on the watch, or you could make another special folder. You know, any way you want to do it. You basically use an app that will allow two devices to talk together on Wi-Fi to communicate and do file transfer. Share It is one of them. Another one that I use a lot is called AirDroid. AirDroid works. There's another one called MobiZen Mirroring that you can set up to do mirroring back and forth. And other people have ideas, don't you guys? How would you transfer an APK file backed up on a phone to a watch for installation? Huh? Let us know, okay? Thanks. That deserves another drink. Take a moment, think about what I just said, have some water. Because now we're moving to the watch. Let's pretend for a minute that you've done all of this and you've got the all the APKs that you want transferred over here to your phone, to your watch. Another watch face just for fun. And we want to know, well, how do you go about installing them? All right, that's the next part of this phase of side loading. We're still talking about side loading. You see why it's called from the side? We're kind of moving it from the phone through a back door, or from the side into the watch. Well, we're going to go over to our apps again. And we're going to go find the file manager. And the file manager on the watch is what we use. Now remember, I told you my technique was to set up a special folder called Apps Core. By the way, you notice I have App Backup and Restore also on my watch, because one of the things I do is I install that same application on the watch. And after I've installed all the apps that I want, I run it and I back them up on the watch. I got 16 gigabytes on this watch, plenty of space. And that way, if I want to, I can move this entire folder off the watch if I have to flash the firmware or do some sort of an update or get a different watch. And then I can drag that one, you know, same techniques, back over to a different watch or back onto this one if it got wiped out, and I can reinstall everything. So the apps core are the APK files from the App Backup and Restore from the phone, and this one is my collection of backed up apps that actually live on the watch. Cool. When you follow a system like this, you can change your own oil. Let's look in here. Okay, I've got camera apps separate because this one doesn't have a camera, so I don't need to look at those. I got certain ones that I definitely do not want to update because I know that the updates are worse than the originals, and anytime that happens, I put them in there. I've got a folder of separate launchers. A launcher is the thing that runs when you start up your phone or your watch. Typically, the launcher is what came with the watch, but you can put different ones on and do different things. Some pretty visualizers, and then I got my whole list of apps, all sorts of different things here. Let's look at this one because the next thing I'm going to ask you to do after we're done with this segment is to install this particular app called Floating Toucher. Good reasons for that. Let's look at it. If I touch it, it begins the installation process. Now, if it's already been installed, which it has on this one, you can tell by that little white dot there. That's a little thing that comes in from Floating Toucher. If it's already been installed, it's going to say, do you want to do updates? Install it fresh, new, or just the new things, or replace the whole one over again. If it has never been installed before, you'll get a different screen that looks like, ooh, how about Google Handwriting? I don't think I have that one. Yeah, like this. And if you scroll all the way down from where next changes to the word install, then you can install it. I may as well install this one, for example. Watch, I hit install, and it goes through the process of installing it. Now, I don't have to be on the internet. I don't have to be connected to Google. I don't even have to be logged into Google for this to happen. And it's now been installed. The APK file still is there on the phone, and the actual kernel that runs on the watch, the kernel that actually runs is now actually installed on the watch. I can say done, and then I can install the next one and the next one and the next one and go through all of them that way. Really fast and easy way to get apps onto your watch. The other way, and I honor you if you want to go back and do it the old-fashioned way, is to just go into your Google Play Store, type in the title of what you're looking for, have it up on the screen, and install it directly from the Google Play Store. Even if you do it that way, I highly encourage that you, first one that you install is the app Backup and Restore app, so that you can at least back them up onto your watch after you've taken all the time to load them in, right? In case you need to later update them or reinstall them, you have them backed up. All right, we've covered a lot. Have a drink. Oh, nothing beats fresh water. We're going to come back now and talk about specific apps that you want to install, just some basic things that will make your life really efficient with an Android-based watch once you've got them in there. You're still with me, huh? Okay, here we go. Don't forget to refill now. I think we're up to our third or fourth shot. I mean glass of water. You're going to need it because we're going to change watch faces. And this one I'm actually going to be specifically looking for a good watch face. There's one that has not so busy a background, because you're about to see the magic of having an overlay launcher on top of a launcher. Now, I mentioned again, we'll come back to that. I mentioned again to you that we have all of, what I'm doing here is happening through a user interface. And that user interface is a program called the launcher, and it's running in the background that's letting us do all of this stuff. And it's the classic one that comes with the watch, and they're different on the different watches. Remember, we showed you how different it was on this one? It behaves completely differently. Here's the layout on here, which is different than the layout on here. They're different launchers. They're different firmware. All right. A launcher can also be, let's get back here, floating. And this floating launcher, or called floating toucher, is activated by a little dot. And when I do that, I come up with something that looks like this. Not when you first get it, but when you set it up like I have, it looks like this. And this allows you to set things in here that you want to go to quickly simply by touching them on the screen. You following me so far? For example, let's say I want to come over here to my apps, and I want to go down here to how about this one, Settings Search, which is another really good app. And I touch it, and I come into here, and I can do all sorts of things with the system inside of the watch that you normally can't do because it's hidden. setting search, a second one you should install. Okay, you saw everything I had to go through to get there? I could just tap this button and scroll around, and if I install it somewhere, I could just tap it from the screen. These are folders, and I can have folders within folders of stuff. See that? So I'm going to pick a folder. I'm going to pick this one right here. There's nothing there right now, but I'm going to install it. I'm going to show you quickly how this is done. So first thing I have to do is go over to here, which actually just started running this app, the Floating Toucher. And I'm going to go over here and switch over to that other page, and I'm going to go into that folder, and I'm going to put it right here in the upper right-hand corner. I press and hold, he says, and I'm going to go to my apps, and I'm going to go down to settings search. Wee, wee, wee. There it is. And now it's been installed. Now I can leave this whole thing. Now watch. I press here. I go over to where those folders were. I put it in the upper right-hand one. There it is. I tap it. Bam, I'm instantly into the app without having to go anywhere. Yeah, I know it took 3 or 4 presses, but that's because I nested it, because I have a lot of stuff going on. Watch, I can float this again right on top of the current app, and I could go into another one like this one called Display Brightness. Oh, this is a really cool app too. This lets you put a little sliding toggle on the side that you can move up and down to change the brightness of the display. And I got to that without having to go to the apps. So that's one of the big benefits of this. I can go home by doing that. I didn't have to push the button. And I can even turn the watch off. So Floating Toucher is one of the apps you're going to want to install in all of the portfolio of things that you're going to want to do. You might even want to just go ahead and go into the Google Play Store and type that in and download it directly so you can get started with that, because you can save so much time, especially on this flavor of Android 5.1, where to get anywhere you have to scroll and scroll and scroll just to get to your apps. All right. No, not yet. I want to show you a couple more things with Floating Toucher. Oh, I was starting to spill. Watch. This is great. First of all, I showed you how to go home. I showed you how to turn it off. These things are all stuff that you can set up. But check this out. You see that down here? I put it on as a little speaker plus is what it says. When I touch it, it brings up your audio settings and lets you slide them however you want to. Oh, look at that. You can change it to none, priority, all sorts of different things. Okay, I can adjust the volumes. It's a little tricky, but it's right here on the screen. And on this particular watch, and all the ones that are like it, I don't know if you noticed, but when I went looking at all the things, there's no way to adjust the volume. Yeah, it's really crazy. But on this particular Android 5.1, there's notification. By the way, if you are using this app and the dot goes away, just go to your notifications and touch the notification for Floating Toucher, and it'll put the dot back on. That's not in the instructions, and it's really confusing. When you touch it and it goes away and you can't get it back, that's the trick. Go to notifications, however you get to it on your watch. Most of them you slide to the left and they're over here, but not here. You have to go down. Get there and just touch that notification and your dot will come back. Yeah, it just saves you a lot of time. Okay, but we were talking about the volume and such. When you touch that and you touch that, you can get in here and do whatever you want with the volume, because otherwise, folks, the only way to get to volume, now imagine your phone's ringing at a meeting and you don't want it to, you got to come all the way down here to sound, to volumes, and adjust the dang volume right there. That's the only way I've found on this. So Floating Toucher is a godsend for those who get the watches that have this form of Android 5.1. over here, you see that little thing there? Tiny little icon. And it lets us adjust the screen on time. And it gives you a new option, infinity. A lot of people have been asking, can I have my watch stay on all the time? Well, with floating toucher, if it works, it can supersede the timeout and you can have it set to go on all the time. Not recommended, gonna drain your battery really fast, but just sometimes there's those situations that you wanna have your watch on all the time. You're doing a 5-minute run or something, and well, you can set it for 5 minutes, I guess. I don't know, whatever the circumstances are, you could do it. You toggle it again, it goes back to 15 seconds. This is all happening in the background. You don't have to go all the way over to settings to display to set this. It'll do it on its own. So I just set it for 15 seconds. It should time out on its own. The upper, see there? Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? All right. But I don't want it that short, so I'm going to set it a bunch up. There we go. In the upper right-hand corner on this, you see this quad grid here. Now, I mentioned I could put in all my apps and put them in folders and get to them magically however I want to. But sometimes you just want your apps. You want your apps in a nice big layout that scrolls of all the apps you have installed. Folks, this is worth it in and of itself right there. Yeah, everything. Alphabetical. Boom. And you're out of it. One tap. Oh, it even left us right where we were, I guess. Okay. There we go. One tap to the dot, one tap to the box, and all your apps are available. You pick whatever one you want to work with and touch it. There you go. Like Chronosoft. Chronosoft is a cool watch replacement. It's an app, so it's not going to be your default watch face, but it's a sweet little app that it's actually an app and you can do all sorts of things with it depending on what you touch. This is showing me my power level, I think. You can make a stopwatch out of it. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. And I got to that again just by using the floating toucher. All right. Now we can have another sip, and this is a celebratory sip instead of a sip of confusion and integration. You know how to do all this now. You've gotten to this point. You're a master of the touch floating toucher, and yeah, cheers. Yeah. Now, let's go through more apps that you may want to think about installing. I got a lot of useless ones in here, stuff you may not be interested in. We're going to walk through. Of course, you need to have Google. Should be there. If it's not, make sure it is. Make sure it's updated. Make sure you go into the Google Now if you want to, because that'll integrate it with your all the stuff, your email information and your weather and all that. And another important thing is when you update Google or you go into it, if your Google Play services need to be updated, you normally don't see that, but it will tell you, and it'll let you update Google Play services. The Chinese watches are notorious on having an old version of Google Play services. You want to update that for all the features that you have available to you. So if you don't see it in the update of the Google Play Store, way back at the beginning of this video when we did that update all, if you don't see Google Play services, make sure you update Google and you can update it through there. Limfo just has to do with this watch. It's a stock thing that came with it. A lot of these are stock apps. We're going to skip all those and see if there's any that I've got installed for you to play with. The display brightness, again, is that little slider thing here. See? And I've got it negative brightness. I can go down as low as negative 80%. So at night, it's really, really dim. You can't do that with the regular brightness control. You can go all the way up to 100. Now, the bad news is, as far as I know, display brightness has been pulled from the Google Play Store, or the creator took it down. It's not available anymore, but you can find it on the web if you search for display brightness at other sites that have it for download. And I've got my copy of it in several of my apps or my videos that I've put up, and I'll also add it to the show notes down below this one. So if you'd like to download it, you can just download it directly from there. It's an APK file and you can install it, but you're not going to find it, I don't think, if you type in display brightness inside of Google Play Store. That one you have to side load, so you're going to have to learn how to do that anyway. Floating toucher, definitely, and settings search. So there's those three that I highly recommend. Then we've got all these other things. Some of these are interesting little visuals. They give you a nice view of what your watch can do. Koi is a koi pond, a labyrinth thing, just all these different things. And what else? Alpine Quest is a pretty good thing for like the Google Maps, only different. What I found with this one, if you've got it all set up right and you're moving in a particular direction, it will orient the map to match the direction that you're going. Sometimes that works in the Google, but not always. Okay, app backup and restore. A little word about memory before we leave all of this. If you got a lot of memory on your watch that you're not using, like a 16 gigabyte, by all means, it's great to put that in there and install them. It's great to leave all the APK files that you transferred over, even though you don't need them anymore. They're taking up room, but if you got a lot of room, it's okay. But if you got limited memory, 8 gigabytes or even less, the 4 gigabyte kind of watches, you're not going to want to do this. It'll take up too much valuable space. And after you install an app from the APK, if you've moved it over in the way we did in sideloading, you're going to want to delete that APK file off of your watch to free up space. So you can either put in more and different APKs and install them, or put in music or whatever else you want to use it for. So memory management is an issue when it comes to using app backup and restore. Apis browser is a replacement browser I recommend, way over the one that comes with it. You can actually bookmark pages and set those bookmarks as icons that you can click on. And of course, you could put it into Floating Toucher and have a whole folder full of nothing but your web pages that you like to go to. Really slick idea there. Okay, some other things, a couple of calculators. Google Handwriting is a substitute keyboard that lets you actually write letter by letter on the screen. I'm just going to skip through these. Gesture search is a Google thing that, again, handwriting lets you go to different places in the system and do stuff similar to settings search. I don't know if you can hear, but my roosters are going off outside. For those of you who know me, this channel, I'm way up in a rainforest area, and we definitely have roosters all over the place. Google Keep is a good note system. If you haven't tried it out yet, do so. You can update it on your computer, your phone, your tablet, and it'll synchronize right here with your watch. And you can add things from your watch that would then automatically update everywhere else, and so forth. Google Maps, some news apps. Pocket is really good for saving news articles. And with Pocket, you can actually have it read the articles to you. So sometimes I'll load my news from the computer or phone onto Pocket, slap on my watch, make sure I'm in a Wi-Fi zone, or link this to my phone in a Wi-Fi hotspot and just have my phone in my pocket or wherever, just nearby, and I can play the news or have it read the news articles or whatever articles I want from Pocket. It's really nice. And on and on and on. Screensaver is a good quick app that will just dim the screen slightly. And it's something that's nice if you're going to go into the movie theater, or if you keep it always dim to save battery, you can tap it to make it bright in the sunlight and then tap it again to go back. Again, you could build this one right here into your Floating Toucher and have an icon if you wanted to touch that would just simply dim your screen a little and bring it back up again. Skype we all know of. SoundSnip, I have a whole video on that one. And I got a video on speech to clipboard. And speech notes we've also done. Speed test tells you how fast your watch is running and so forth. Anything else that's like critical you should have? I think that's about it. Volume control is similar to this brightness control here, but it's for volume. And when you install it, it puts a bar. You can move it wherever you want, but I now have the ability to adjust my volume just by sliding my thumb right here on the top. Just enable it, it's automatically, and then that one's go. So volume control. There's two things called volume control. This is by Rubber something, Rubber Bunny, Rubber The company is Rubber. Look for Rubber in it. This is another similar one that's easy to adjust your volume levels. But ever since we discovered that we've got that same capability here, it's like, why bother? But anyway, you could have that one in there if you want. Yahoo Weather is a good substitute if you're not getting weather. Mine's not syncing with the weather. And if it did, it would always be in Centigrade. Yahoo Weather is another nice one that gives you a good visual on the watch format. And that's about it. All the other ones are just kind of custom ones I play with. Look how good this is, how fast it scrolls. Okay, so let's summarize from the top. All right, one more sip. Yellow. To begin, you're going to want to charge your watch up. Really, charge it all the way up and plan on when you use it, draining it all the way down and charging it up for a few times to season the battery with the watch so your scale of battery reading will be more in harmony, okay? Secondly, wow. Secondly, you're going to want, now, I'm all distracted. You charged it up. Then you went on Wi-Fi and you connected up to Wi-Fi. Then you went into Google and you connected up with Google. So you have your Google account in there. Then you went back over to your settings and you checked to see if you needed to update the firmware in your watch, because you want to do that to make sure you're running the latest system. Then you went back to Google and you checked to see if there were any updates waiting there, particularly to Google products. Then you decided you're going to sideload a bunch of apps into your watch by downloading them to your phone and somehow magically get them moved over here that Mr. Tix didn't tell you how to do but said you had to do on your own. Once you got that done, then you went into File Manager on your phone and you were able to individually install those apps that were important and special into the watch. And then we covered some of the apps that would be really good for you to have. Floating toucher, the touching button, the display brightness to give you the brightness slider switch here that you could change. Same thing for the volume at the top if you wanted to do that, and a few others. Now, charge it back up, clean it all up with a nice tissue, pack it back in the box, wrap it all up with a bow, and you have yourself a really nice Christmas, okay? You have been watching Smartwatch Ticks. Really appreciate you being here. If you're brand new, it gets crazy like this, and it also is a lot of fun. If you're with me for a long time, I so appreciate you being here, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All the things that are coming up. 11/11 is coming in China, Good Sales Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Keep watching. We're going to have links and specials for all of these watches. And if it's after all that, and if it's Christmas morning, well, hallelujah. Another new year, 2018 coming with lots of fun stuff in the smartwatch arena. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for being here.